Hello everyone, Grey Wander here. Welcome to my tutorial on how to make your own pony video avatar using the base I've created. If you haven't seen the introductory video where I talk about these bases, you might want to go watch that. Link's in the description. Due to the length of the video, I'm going to have to cut this tutorial into two parts. In the first part, I'm going to deal with the basics of how to get started, how to change the colors, how to pose, and how to export a finalized pose. In the second part, I'm going to deal with drawing in your own mane and tail, and some plans I have for future versions. Let's get right to it, shall we? So the first thing you'll need to do is download the base of your choice. There are both a male and a female base available. There's a link in the description. Now this right here is just a showcase GIF. What you need is the actual SVG file, which can be found by clicking here. Check the file name to verify that this is the one you want. Then go and click where it says download. As you can see, it says SVG underneath the download button. Save the file wherever you like. While we're at it, let's create a new folder. We'll call it Firefly. In order to edit SVG files, you'll need a vector graphics program. Adobe Illustrator, CorelDRAW, or any other vector graphics editor should work, but I can't guarantee anything as I haven't tested the file with those programs. The program I'd recommend is Inkscape, which can be downloaded for free from inkscape.org. Inkscape is what I use to create this file, so I know there won't be any problems with compatibility. Inkscape is also available for Windows, Mac, and Linux, so you shouldn't be restricted by your OS. Once you have a vector graphics editor installed, you should be able to just double-click on the file to open it. If you've never used Inkscape before, or any graphics software, this might look a little intimidating, but don't worry, as long as you follow my lead, you should be fine. And for the Inkscape veterans, stay with me to see how the file is put together for ease of editing. First of all, let's save a copy of our file. Let's navigate into the Firefly folder and call the new file Firefly. This will help prevent accidentally saving over the original base. Now all you need to do to save is come over here to the floppy disk icon and click on it. Inkscape does crash on occasion, so I recommend saving anytime you think about it. Now come to the top where it says Object and click on Fill and Stroke. This is how we're going to change the color of the pony. Next, go back up to the top where it says Layer and click down here where it says Layers. As you can see, there are a lot of layers. This is where all the poses are, and I'll get to that momentarily. Now, all of the tools on the left side, there are only a few that we need to worry about. The first is the Select and Transform Objects tool. This tool allows you to select objects and groups of objects and manipulate them in a variety of ways. You can move them around, you can stretch and compress them. Note that if you hold down the Control key on Windows, then it'll scale the object uniformly. If you click on the object again, then you'll have options to skew or rotate the object. And of course, let's not forget that you can undo almost anything by pressing Control Z. The last thing about the Select tool is that it allows us to reorder objects on the same layer, moving them in front of or behind other objects. Now you'll notice that when we selected the body, it selected the entire body, which is made up of many parts. That's because these were all grouped together. Double-click to select individual components in a group, or we can ungroup the objects. But an easy way to select just one object in a group is to use the Edit Paths and Nodes tool. This is a very powerful tool right here, but for now all we're interested in is selecting single objects. Now we can select just a part of the body fill or the body stroke. If we go over to our fill and stroke window, we can see that the body stroke is filled with a black gradient. Almost everything in this image is filled using gradients. The reason for this has to do with the way Inkscape handles gradients. Rather than applying a gradient directly to an object, Inkscape will create a gradient separate from the image, and then that gradient can be applied to objects within the image. If you apply a single gradient to two or more objects, then you change the gradient, it will change all the objects using that gradient. The short version is, by using gradients, we can easily change the colors of everything. The eyes are the only part of the image that actually uses gradients as they were intended. Everything else only uses the first color in each gradient. You'll notice these handles here, which control how the gradient appears, are all the way off to the side of the object. This is so that only one of the colors composing the gradient will appear, and the other can be left alone. There are 5 gradients that control the color of the entire image, except the mane and tail. They were chosen for maximum contrast from one another. The black is the body strokes, the white is the body fill, the green is the zebra stripes, the blue is the eyes, and the red is the magic glow. You can change the currently selected object to a particular gradient in order to change the color. Just remember to change it back to the original gradient. Or you might find it easier to select the part you want to change the color of and change it from there. Now since Firefly isn't a G4 pony, she doesn't have any official G4 model or colors. We know, however, that she has a light pink coat, electric blue mane and tail, and deep purple eyes. For simplicity, we'll use the color of Fluttershy's mane for the coat, and Twilight's eyes for the eyes. For the mane, we'll base it off the blue that appears in Rainbow Dash's mane. This mane is based off of Derpy's, and we'll draw on a new one later, but for now this will work as a placeholder. If you already have an image of your pony, you can also import it and use the color picker, or open it in a different editor and copy the hex code for the color. In this case, I'm using some of the excellent color guides created by Kefka Floyd, which can be found on his DeviantArt page. The hex codes in his guides don't seem to include alpha value, however, which Inkscape will want. In most cases, you'll want to append an FF to the end of the hex code, which is fully opaque. If you need something partially transparent, you can use a different value, or use the color sliders. Now that our pony is colored, it's time to see how the poses work. As I said earlier, everything is in layers. If you look at the left-hand column, you'll see a bunch of eye symbols. A closed eye means that layer is invisible, and an open eye means that layer is visible. Each layer contains a piece of the pony in a certain pose, rather than containing an entire pose. What this allows you to do is put together a complete pose for your pony by choosing which pieces to make visible. This is how we're able to get over 20,000 possible combinations. It also makes it really easy to quickly change the race of your pony. Wings, horns, and zebra stripes can be easily turned on or off just by rendering those layers visible or invisible. One quick note about zebra stripes: I wasn't able to put them on any posable parts of the body. This means there are not stripes on the snout or forelegs. Adding stripes to these would have required creating a lot of extra layers or repurposing the entire base to be always striped. I decided that the way I've done it is the optimal way, and certainly better than having no stripes at all. Some layers contain different poses for one part of the body, while others have only one pose available. Layers such as the horn or body are either on or off. By contrast, notice how the eyes, ears, snout, wings, and right foreleg are labeled. Generally speaking, you should only have one of these layers visible at a time. If you can find a way to creatively combine these layers to get a good looking pose though, feel free. You can also add your own poses or edit the file any way you like. Just remember to credit me and link back to the original so that people can find the bases. Before we take a look at how to export your final pose, we need to give your pony a cutie mark. If you don't have a cutie mark for your pony, I might be willing to make one for you for free. Check my DeviantArt page to see if requests are open. Before we go any further, make sure you have the cutie mark layer selected. Now, I have the original SVG files for all the cutie marks I've created, but more than likely you'll just have a PNG or other raster image to work with. Inkscape can't open raster images like it can vector images. You'll have to import it by coming up here to File, and then Import. You can either embed the image or link it. If you embed it, it will increase the size of the file, but the embedded image won't ever change. If you link it, then editing the original will cause it to change in the SVG file, and deleting the original will make it disappear entirely. If you aren't sure, then just embed it. Now we summon our trusty select tool to resize the mark and place it on the flank. Remember, you can hold control while resizing in order to make it scale uniformly. And with that, we're done, except for the mane and tail, which we'll deal with in part 2. At this point, you should definitely save. Now we can select which layers we want visible and export that image as a PNG file. Go up to File and Export Bitmap. Make sure the export area is set to Page. This will automatically export everything inside this rectangle here. Note that the pony is on the right side and the left side of the image is blank. This is so that you can import poses into your video editing software of choice and they'll automatically be placed in the correct part of the screen. You want the bitmap size to be set to 90 dpi or 1920 by 1080 or whatever resolution you want your videos to be in. Then under File Name, click on Browse and make sure we're in the right folder we want to keep all our poses in. Make sure to enter the name you want for that pose. Then, and this might be the most important part, click on Export. Don't forget to click on Export. Wash, rinse, and repeat for each pose you want. More than likely you'll want to have this open while you're putting your video together so that you can quickly throw together new poses as you need them. And that's about everything. Be sure to tune in for part 2 where I show you how to draw your own mane and tail and talk about some of the features that might be appearing in version 1.1. Thanks for watching. Grey Wander signing off.